to another episode of the Empowered Intuitive Academy podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Taylor Henderson, also known as the Kind Nut Witch, and with me is my beautiful co-host, Petra Costa from When Magic Awakes. And you can follow us both on Instagram and Facebook. And today we are chatting about mocking alternative beliefs. Should we renew that for another season, Petra?
This is a harder question to answer than you'd expect. It really is. Like, I don't like the idea of mocking anything, but I've got to say some of them, maybe.
Some of them are worth mocking.
Yeah.
And we say this from the perspective that we both have alternative beliefs. And at times we have probably been mocked for having those alternative beliefs. But when you look at them compared to some of the like even more mainstream things that are happening now, it's pretty laughable. So we're going to dive into that today. So
Get straight into it.
yeah, what is an alternative belief?
An alternative belief is a belief that strays from the mainstream culture or community. It is a belief that varies from the majority group belief. I find that interesting. The majority still rules with stuff like this. But
Yes, that is interesting.
yeah.
So alternative beliefs, and my understanding of it is that it's it relates to, in today's age, relates to wellness practices or holistic practices. Holistic health in particular gets a really bad sort of rap. And then we've got medical practices which were not mainstream for their time. So I think the Victorian era is going to get a bit of a name and shame in this episode because it was like the prime of that. And alternative spiritual beliefs or religions. So these are the spiritual beliefs and concepts which aren't generally accepted by the wider public because we have our more organized mainstream religions, Christianity and such, and then we have like the alternative new agey type beliefs, or like even the old earth-based beliefs which have been marginalized. So yeah,
Got a lot to unpack.
yeah, where do we start with that?
Well, I'm going to start with mocking openly the Victorian era and some of the things
Yes.
that their mainstream practices.
Yes.
So I started when I was looking into alternative beliefs, medicines, etc., because I think alternative beliefs, what gets in my head is medical stuff that sort of like seems a little bit weird. And I've always had this viewpoint that I've never really understood smoking in terms of the fact that it was, said to be had health benefits, that it could help with virtually everything from headache to a cough, because it was, using herbs from, Eastern culture.
Yeah.
And we were just doing ourselves an absolute health hit by
Everyone smoked.
having a
Everyone
ciggy,
smoked.
right?
Yeah.
So I find it really hard to believe that people bought into that. What I find even harder to believe, and I was blown away by this, is that I had not realized where the terminology blowing smoke up your ass came from.
This is going to be interesting.
I just thought to myself, when you say don't blow smoke up my ass, we all know it means don't, give me a load of bullshit.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Don't butter me up. Yeah, yeah.
it was a medical practice, a well-renowned medical practice where you put a tube up someone's rectum and you blew tobacco smoke up their butt. It was supposed to enhance all of the medicinal factors of this wonder tobacco. And it was even put forward as a resuscitation device if people were suffering, had drowned or had taken in water. And it was so prevalent, that along the river at the stations, they would have smoke blowing stations, so that if someone had fallen overboard and you grab them, you could just go, oh no, I've got it. Don't worry. You run off, you get the box, you open it, you get out your pipe, shove it up their butt, blow in some smoke. It's all good. Now,
I wonder if they had like specific first aid courses for administering tobacco smoke up one's rectum. Like we do CPR, except like they're getting taught how to
And getting
pull the
told
pipe and insert it into their.
put that
Oh my
pipe,
god, no!
how to put the pipe in the butt. Now, I'm thinking there might have been a lot of clinical evidence around at that time where people amazingly came around. I'm looking for maybe they were just a little bit unconscious or woozy, and it was the pipe going up the butt that gave them
just stung them back to life. They
gave them a bit of a shock.
Yeah.
Rather than it actually being the healing properties of the smoke. But it seriously, the belief factor was the fact that nicotine was known to raise heart rate. So the logic was, and this is the thing, there's a little bit of logic that nicotine raises heart rate.
Yeah.
If you take it in water, you need to obviously get the water out of the body. Some doctors prefer the practice of blowing the smoke in through the lungs.
Yeah, see, that would make more sense to me. Being
you. Kudos to the doctors that realise the air goes in through our lungs.
Through the lungs.
Not up through our butts.
We're not turtles. We're not turtles. Imagine how much like gas they would have afterwards just having all this fucking air.
I wasn't going to mention this because this is a serious podcast, right? So I wasn't going to mention it. But there were instances of quite a lot of disease being transferred over because when the person resuscitated, they obviously passed wind, which blew back into the doctor. So things like shit, cholera and all of those horrible things that were going around in that time, doctors were all of a sudden I'm having
freaking syphilis and shit, Oh my god.
All I'm saying, my point here, that was modern medicine of that time.
Yes.
So when people adhere, I think, to any ideology, whether it's alternative or mainstream, and medicine is mainstream, just remember that we used to think blowing smoke up people's asses was a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just
right alongside using tobacco and things to cure certain people of certain ailments. Should we get into that?
Which one would you like me to get into? Would you like me to get into the women-based one?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Let's
okay. So as we know, women are such hysterical creatures. Hysterical.
We are.
Hysterical. What I did not realise that as being a woman, I come with a wandering womb. I quite thought that it was always just where it is, but no, apparently it wanders.
Mine goes walk about a fair bit. Like just gets little legs and toddles on out of there, and I might see it in a month, or I might see it the next day. Who knows? She just needs to spread her proverbial legs, Petra.
Mine's a sedentary little thing. It doesn't really like to go for much of a walk. It's like the rest of me, exercise. Interested.
It's optional.
But this was believed back in the time that because of women's wandering wombs, it was causing all sorts of things, which we've already spoken about, hysteria, how it comes from from the womb and hysterectomy and all those kind of things. So you can see with it. So us hysterical beings, the doctors found that by stimulating the pelvic region of a woman, which the doctors would provide this service, they could. I'm just going to pause there and just go.
Yeah.
Okay. But they would manually induce what they called a hysterical paroxysm. Okay, which is just a female orgasm, right? But the doctors were getting in under.
They should have actually been studying, taking notes on, because if they'd done like the correct field of study, we might be more satisfied. People, just saying.
Just saying.
Just saying.
So,
Should have took notes.
well, more importantly, should have got in the person the woman was with and given him some notes,
And
because
given him some notes.
the doctors were getting absolutely inundated with so many women needing their wandering womb rectified,
Yep.
right? Manually manipulated.
Yeah.
That a person who was actually an engineer who created steam engines decided to create the first the, it was
Oh God. Yeah.
but this was science, okay, Taylor. This is science, and he created the first manipulator, which was to help these women and cure their ailment.
Excellent. I love
So,
that for us.
so I'm just saying, modern medicine and sex toys apparently have come a long way.
They have. Yep. Nothing says cure to hysteria like a little bit of coke on the gums and a dildo to match.
Well, you mentioned coke, right? That was
Yeah,
readily available.
Coke.
Cocaine.
It was like a substance that was, widely available, had multitude of uses, and like tobacco, everybody needed to be, on it. Coca-Cola.
I know.
Spotify people.
Go back to old days, man.
Up Coca-Cola. Yeah. What is it you said earlier about Coca-Cola?
I can't remember, but I like it old way.
Yeah, sometimes things should be as nature intended.
Nature intended, exactly.
Yeah.
But then when they got rid of coke, they brought in heroin, which was the way less addictive form. And it was so great that we put it in cough drops, drops for children, in baby aspirin. Literally everything we could put it in, we put it in. And it was only when people were rushing the pharmacies to get all of these things in quantity that we realized that there might just be a chance that it wasn't as
it might be causing a few addiction issues among the public people who are using
absolutely
medicines. Yes.
So what we've started off mocking medicine. Really, is what we started off with. We've started off mocking medicine from the past that we now know better.
We now know better. We now know better. There's been studies, and I think that leads into why we're mocking alternative beliefs today.
Exactly. Now, I'm going to stick with medicine just for one moment, because there was a fella that was on, I think it was 60 Minutes or something like that. He's the name of Brian Johnson. He's a venture capitalist, got more money than he knows what to do with, and is reportedly spending $2 million a year on trying to achieve the goal of having the body of an 18-year-old and being able to record that and test that to make sure that he's maintaining the body of an 18-year-old. And he's hoping that he can do that indefinitely. He's currently a 45-year-old man, but he looks to try to do this indefinitely. He has a very, very strict regime of when he wakes up, when he goes to sleep. He gets monitored and tested, had more MRIs than you can, poke a stick at. But basically what the idea is, exercise and eating well are going to, make you live longer if you get the optimum eating and the optimum balance.
That sounds pretty believable.
I think most of us would agree. Exercise and nutrition are two of the most, and obviously he incorporates meditative practice.
Yeah.
So he's actually looking at it also from the meditative side. And I think although it's funny because that combination, when you start including meditative practice, it becomes an alternative belief, which is really stupid to me, because that should be mainstream. But where does it become mockable? And I'm thinking it becomes mockable when you're spending $2 million on it a year.
Yes.
When you're taking dozens of supplements every morning.
Yeah.
Like dozens and dozens of supplements. when you're getting, there was a term for it, a fat, I can't remember, fat sculpturing, I think it was called, no, scaffolding. Oh, my mistake.
Scaffolding. Yeah.
Scaffolding, fat scaffolding, where you can either take fat from your own body, but this gentleman doesn't have enough body fat because he's got his body fat below 3%.
Okay.
And so he gets the fat from younger people and injects it into his face to give him a youthful appearance, and also with the thought that the younger fat cells are going to help his face get rejuvenated. These are just some of them. I read on that he actually hooks himself up to a electrocurrent machine to work on his pelvic floor so that he can stimulate himself for a period of time. Getting to the, and in this article, which is from the Financial Review, to get into the hard to reach place. Sorry.
Where is hard to reach places in a man? Tell me, because it's external.
Understand the concept of core muscles and exercising internal muscles. You don't have to be able to touch them, people. You don't have to physically be able to rub some deep heat on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, he hooks himself up to this machine to exercise those pelvic floor muscles, and then he records the amount of erections he receives overnight to monitor himself against what a healthy young 18-year-old would be experiencing. And he's happy to report that in that regard, he actually excels. Now, is that because he's youthful and like an 18-year-old, or is that just because he's had an electrocurrent device wrapped around his penis for 12 hours?
Something could be said about that, but can I just make a few points? So one,
please,
if he wanted to like maintain his pelvic floor and gather a little bit of data on his virility, a couple of Kegels and some and trying to set a record for how many times you can jack off in a row would have done that for him fine. Secondly, men maintain their virility right up until like age 95, and their fertility. They can continue having babies, while women, it gets harder for us as we get older. So measuring that like field of anatomy to see if you are like immortal is fucking ridiculous and very much mockable, in my opinion.
Mockable. Okay. We should, if we could get a little thing, we could tick it. That'd be so great on the thing. Okay. So we say, Brian Johnson, we agree conceptually with diet, exercise, and a meditative practice.
Yeah.
Electrocurrent through your private parts and all of the other things.
I'm all for a good time, but choo-choo.
Go back to the steam operated thing.
Go back to the steam operator. Stamp of approval, but like that's some Elizabeth Bathory logic right there. Like, she was that lady back in Hungary in the fucking medieval times that used to kill young women and bathe in their blood to keep herself like immortal and youthful. And I think the main point of these examples is that there is a high level of pseudoscience or connections being made that aren't necessarily equaling fact.
Exactly. It's like, and that's like, there was logic.
Yes.
As to why blowing smoke up someone's ass actually could resuscitate them. There was logic, but wasn't really well-founded logic.
No, it's not well-founded logic.
Not all logic are equal. Yeah. I think we're saying here, not all logic systems are equal. So we might need to delve a bit deeper. But pharmaceuticals and ingesting huge amounts of vitamins is a huge industry, right? I was quickly just looking, and I was looking at the pharmaceutical industry, for one, is a $1.48 trillion business.
That's okay. I can't even conceive that amount.
I can't even, exactly. Alternative medicine is a 91, almost a $92 billion industry.
Yeah, so not too
Right.
far behind.
It's a lot off,
Yeah.
but it's still a number that we can't conceive.
I still can't conceive that. Yeah. Yep.
And vitamin industry, the supplement industry, is a $120 billion industry. What I'm putting forward here is, if you're in the legal system and you wanted to put some doubt into people's minds,
Yeah.
the fact that they're making $120 billion off it a year
Yeah.
might suggest that your best interest isn't the only thing they're thinking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I don't want to
It
be a
comes into
conspiracy
the
theorist.
whole the capitalist roundabout.
I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but
No, but
that's
it plays a
that's a
significant
hell a lot.
factor. I
That's a
mean,
hell a lot
yeah,
of money.
we are a society that is capitalist in nature, and our version of like trade and barter is through money. So it's not that conspiracy to say that that is on the forefront of their brains.
And I'm thinking, if with so much money in play, we've already stated, you and I talked about this quite a lot when we're talking about toxic positivity, that we don't have an issue with positivity. We have an issue with the hammering of it into us with a certainty that it's the only answer.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
this is the only answer, and this is where I have a problem with vitamins.
Yeah.
They had on. I watched a 60 Minutes episode on YouTube when I was researching this, and they were talking about the industry, talking about holistic healings. They were talking about all of these different healing modalities.
Yeah.
And they were talking about some of the main big sellers for the vitamin supplement industry.
Yeah.
I had virtually every one of them in my cupboard. So I've got to say, I have the echinacea. I don't have vitamin C because I eat a lot of fruit. I cannot in any way understand why I would need more vitamin C.
Yeah. Yeah.
But fish oil, I do have it. I can't remember some of the other mean for joints and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
some of these have been backed with a certain amount of clinical evidence, but I remember when I was talking to my local doctor about fish oil.
Yeah.
Fish oil is anti-inflammatory and blah blah blah. And I am not a medical practitioner, nor am I in any way offering advice. But I remember asking the doctor, is it worthwhile me going high dose fish oil because of all the inflammation problems I have with my joints? And he said there is only been clinical evidence that shows a small amount of benefit for knees.
Yeah.
It's not the whole body that it's going to help with all of the joints and all of the inflammation. There's been a small amount of clinical evidence that shows da 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 da. And I've gone, okay, but how can they then sell it claiming it is a cure?
Yeah.
And this is where I get really confused. Like, just by adding the word may be beneficial.
Yeah.
Then may be beneficial. What fuck does that mean? May be beneficial. Like, what does that actually rule out? I'm not exactly certain what that rules out, apart from may be detrimental.
Yeah, exactly.
Yet they can say may be beneficial and then give you a list of side effects.
Yes.
From the camp, which are detrimental.
And
so I can't, from a linguistic point of view, understand what the hell may be beneficial is ruling out.
That's funny because that exact thing there of, they've said may be beneficial, it has this therapeutic effect, but then they've given you the list of side effects that could be detrimental depending on your age, your health profile, what's actually going on with you. If that medication itself is appropriate to treat for your certain conditions, is it going to interact with any other medications? And like Petra said, we're not giving medical advice or anything. I'm just using my knowledge as a registered nurse for the time that I was, to inform this. But it also feeds into why people seek out alternative medicines as well, because there's a lack of trust in the pharmaceutical companies, for one, and mainstream medicine, in that they don't have the answers for everything, especially when you're dealing with constant chronic illness and things like that, where it seems to just be a byproduct of how we're living in our society. So they've exhausted those resources, so they go to these other sort of more alternative holistic type medicines and therapies and practices and stuff. And then we get an imbalance in that sector as well, because there's people on that side that go, oh, well, this is the cure all be all. I watched a documentary recently, Unwell, on Netflix, and that was very insightful. And the number one example, I think, that's really relevant for this episode, given because people use it in cooking and making home remedies and spiritual practices and beauty practices, is essential oils. So, and every time someone says to me that they ingest essential oils, it makes me cringe, because they are a pure potent plant extract. Yep. And like we've discussed in previous episodes, too much of something is poison. And they went into that in this documentary. There was a woman who had been taking tea tree oil for some reason, because she was told by her essential oil advocate or whoever that it was beneficial in this way, having no medical professional background whatsoever, only just going off the content and the information that the companies are giving them for when they're selling these products. And she had a severe reaction, a systemic severe reaction, which was anaphylactic from this tea tree oil, which previously she had no problems with, because
she wasn't ingesting it in ridiculously huge.
And her body was like, this is too much. This is poisoning me. Therefore, creating histamines. She can't breathe. She's getting like red blotches all over. And it took her several months to recover from that one attack. And now she can't go anywhere near tea tree and has a specific sensitivity to a lot of the oils that she was using day in, day out. Like, people are recommended to consume them. People are recommended to put them in their skincare products. Like, I like essential oils. I mainly use them in aromatherapy for myself, sometimes cleaning products and that, but I'm not doing that every day. So there's that, again, that level of pseudoscience mixed in with the little bit of clinical research that these companies have just grabbed to push that product to make it sound like it is the ultimate wellness cure. That's where it needs to be mocked. That's where it needs to be called out.
Yeah, and you know what? I agree with you 100% behind this. And I'll give you a couple of additional reasons why 100%.
Yeah.
One, you need to be able to source essential oils at a high quality, right? Because people just will buy them, and they don't want to spend the expensive one to get a good brand.
Yes.
You can get them at a $2 shop.
Yeah.
For nothing.
And then with vegetable oil.
Yeah, I'm telling you, if you're buying it from a $2 shop, it's not going to be high quality. There's a special term for it for when it's able to be used on skins and stuff.
It's a CTGP grade essential oil, which means certified therapeutic grade product, I'm pretty sure.
Perfect.
I can look at me go.
Look at you go.
Yeah. Choo choo. Anyway, carry on, Petra.
So that's one issue. Two, there's a lot of these essential oils, by my understanding, and I have not done anything on this, and it's not my area of expertise, but I know some of them are great for using as, aromatherapy, but are not for being put on the skin.
Yes. Yeah.
And just like everything else, people will buy aspirin or their vitamin. I'm going to go out on a limb and say 95% of people don't read packaging.
No.
They don't read it. They don't read it at all.
And they don't check for contraindications either. Like, there's a lot of herbs and herbal extracts and essential oils and things that are actually really harmful, especially for like pregnancy and breastfeeding women. I sell herbs at the markets and things, but I do it in a more magical sense. It's an energetic thing. But I always make sure to inform people, like if they're looking at mugwort and they're pregnant or breastfeeding, I'm like, no, stay
No.
away from it. It has teratogenic effects, which means it can affect the DNA of your child and can cause issues.
Yep.
So, things like that need to be informed.
Exactly. And a lot of the people that are pushing these vitamins and herbal remedies and these cures don't have the knowledge of conditions. Like I have had so many people, because I get joint inflammation, so many people say to me, turmeric. You need to go on turmeric.
Yes.
Turmeric.
Yeah.
Turmeric. That's what you need to do.
Yeah.
And I tried it. I read the box though. I'm a box reader. I read everything about everything before I put it in my body,
Yeah.
which would surprise people considering I'm quite happy to put this into my body. But if you look at the list of ingredients, it's surprisingly short
Yeah.
when you compare it to the list of ingredients on a vitamin.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
But turmeric is not very good for people that have stomach conditions.
Yes.
If they've got ulcers or if they've got inflammation in the esophagus or anything like that.
Yeah.
I did take it even knowing that I had those things. Oh my goodness, did I have a bad reaction?
Yeah.
Like a super bad reaction. Now, does that prove that turmeric is bad for people? No, of course it doesn't.
No.
It just proves that it's no good for me.
Yeah.
But what it is annoying is when people put forward these solutions as being absolute, like, oh, it's natural, it's turmeric.
Yes.
How many million people in the world are eating turmeric on a daily basis? It's got to be fine.
Yeah.
And because you can have just a minor condition that can be really heightened by having the wrong course of vitamins.
Well, that's like even food, like tomatoes for people who have gout and, gastroesophageal reflux and stuff like that. Tomatoes are like your worst fucking enemy because that's going to like increase the acidity and give you really bad side effects and symptoms. And then you've got to, reach for the nearest freaking Nexapro or whatever to, make that go down. And I think there's a good message in this, in that you can use these things in combination, but use in moderation and always be conscious of what you're using with what. And recording, if you're having adverse effects or whatever, and speaking to your practitioner, whether you're going to a naturopath or you're going to your doctor, make sure they know each other, because then they can work together instead of just chancing it. I know some people are experimental, and that's fine, but when you've got like dependents and little ones and things, like just being very careful with that. And I think too, segueing it into like alternative spiritual beliefs, because these things tend to go hand in hand, especially when it comes to like herbs and holistic healthcare. There's a stigma or like a stereotype that if you're of this belief or mindset, you're going to go more for that than you are for like conventional medicine or something. So maybe we can start to delve into that role a little bit.
Absolutely. The only one thing I'd like to say is my final mocking thing about that.
Yes, go
is
ahead.
that I think there's a place. Nutrition is we don't understand it yet. Like we really, really don't. And I've heard some people talking recently. It's something called ancestral nutrition, which goes by the logic that where basically our DNA, our genetics from our parents' line will have an ability to process foods better because of that genetic line. So rather than looking at it in terms of, well, this is good for you, this is bad for you, this is good for you, this is bad for you. Also look at it from your heritage. Because that sort of like kind of made sense to me. Like it really made sense to me. But I think these things, it's so complex for anyone to come, I don't care how much training you've done to come at it with 100% certainty. We just don't know enough. It's like someone saying they understand how our sleep patterns work. We don't. We can only hypothesize. And the second thing is it's dangerous to say that because it's natural, it's safe.
Exactly.
So I'm not mocking there. I'm actually putting out a warning.
Warning. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not mocking it. It's just do not assume because
Yeah.
it's natural,
Yeah.
it is safe.
Yeah.
Because that
And also in that too, because you brought up a point about how one thing might be good for someone, but it's not so good for someone else. I think that's also where people start mocking other people's like beliefs or their choices in regards to their body and stuff, because it's either outside of the mainstream, which makes them uncomfortable and they don't understand it and they don't understand that person's journey to that conclusion. Therefore, they start to mock it. Or it's simply they don't know enough or it's ignorance. So that
yeah.
level of
And
mocking is not really necessary. Like that's that person, that's their journey. If it's not for you, great. Put a boundary up. If you're sick of them going on about how they need to take a fucking probiotic for their constant IBS or whatever, put a boundary up. Unsolicited advice is not, does not need to be a thing in your life.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So what kind of alternative therapies, healing modalities are openly mocked? I know one. I'm literally surrounded hearing by crystals.
Yes. Yes.
I'm surrounded by them.
Yeah.
I'd have to reach uncomfortably across to see, but literally I've got big chunks of crystal
Yeah.
everywhere and blah, 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 blah. There is a lot of science behind crystal and crystal healing and how
Yep.
crystals work.
Yep.
There is no science to prove crystal healings and how they heal.
Yeah.
But this is what when people mock me about it, and I get mocked. Yeah, and I'm going to put it out there that I have done a level of training in relation to crystals.
Yeah.
At an advanced level, certified in crystal and color therapy and healing.
Yeah.
And I find with crystals, for me personally, color has a lot to do with it. I vibe with color so very, very strongly. And surrounding myself in certain colors when I feel certain ways just makes me feel better. It makes
Yeah.
me feel more in line with
Color
things.
therapy, is a thing.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
And I get mocked relentlessly
Mm.
for that. And because I'll just say, oh look, I'm wearing blue today
Yeah.
because I felt like I needed the blue. I like blue, helps me communicate and it helps me get my point across, and I feel like I get misinterpreted less
Yeah.
when I've got my lapis lazuli on. And
Yeah.
apart from that, I think it's gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, there is science behind crystals. I did a blog post on it actually, just in terms of the facts of why we use them in watches. Why are they in all of our in every electrical
Yes.
device?
Yes.
There's a reason, and I'm not going to go into crystal structures and how they vibrate and all of the science behind that.
Yeah.
But they're more than they appear. They are not just shiny bits of rock that's been taken out of the ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, does that mean that I think that you can grab a piece of citrine and hold it over, your kidneys and automatically you've got a kidney stone, you're going to pass it? No,
No.
I don't. But do I believe that I think they definitely help with spiritual and
Yes. Yeah.
mental.
Yeah.
I think they do have a limited scope on in terms of healing of the body.
Mm.
But one thing I will say, and this is where I argue the point of them, is that the most powerful thing we have in relation to healing is our own mind.
Yeah.
I think I'm behind that. Like, our own mind, we know placebo effect. We know that. People go, oh, but it's only the placebo effect.
Well, we talked
What's your
about the
point?
relationship between brain and gut.
Yeah.
Just
What's
last
your
week.
point? When someone comes up and goes, oh, but that's just placebo effect. If my goal is to feel better
Yeah.
and that makes me feel better,
Yeah.
who cares if it's
That's
placebo
fine.
effect?
Yeah.
I don't understand. And I really cannot understand that as an argument.
Yeah.
But fine. But with crystals do give you the ability to use color.
Yeah.
And that's proved from a science background in terms of the psychology of the human brain.
Yeah.
Relates to certain colors in certain ways. It does certain things to our brain. That is science, and it's measurable.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it can be improved, but we do know we react to certain colors for certain reasons.
Yeah.
And some of the reasons we react to those colors is weird ass, but it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we won't go into color therapy here because we both love that so much. We will
Yes.
be here forever.
We're probably
But
going to have to like talk about that at some point.
but my point is, if you're holding a crystal and that crystal, let's just say I feel like I need to be more grounded and I've picked up a piece of moss agate and
Yeah.
I'm using it as part of my meditative process for the day,
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter whether the crystal is actually doing something because of its vibrational level
Yeah.
or whether I'm using it as a focus point for the powerful thing that is called my mind.
Yeah.
If it's allowing me even just to set intention and focus, it's already doing its job.
Yeah.
In my view, I think anything that can amplify your ability to focus your own mind
Yeah.
can't be discounted as being useless.
Yeah.
So I mock crystals if you say, oh, go to bed with a piece of this under your bed, under your pillow, and tomorrow morning you're not going to have chilblains. The chilblains are going to be gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, I
Yeah.
wish it was so. I
It's
really wish it was so.
I always make a joke of like with my mates and that if you just shove a piece of rose quartz up your ass, everything will be fine.
Well, maybe put smoke up there as well.
Maybe back in the day
I've
they
been
should have
missing
just
that.
had their freaking little rose quartz yoni egg thing in one hand and their tobacco in the other, and just been like put it in the mouth and then blow the smoke up the ass. I'm sure once it comes out the mouth along with all the water, they'll be saved. Like choo choo.
Choo choo. So crystals are a big one.
Yeah.
And I think crystals also lead us
I
into
think energy jinx, I think
Jinx.
energy healing in general is
Yes.
a alternative practice that gets mocked quite a bit. Like
Yep.
my husband, I'm sorry Tim, calling you out here. He always turns around and goes, why would I go to a massage parlor where they're not going to touch me, like with Reiki? And I'm like, because that's not the point of Reiki. It's not about your physical body, it's about your energetic body.
Yeah.
But like that's the type of thinking behind it, and it comes from one, not really being aligned with that belief, which is fine, and two, like not understanding the sort of like spirit science behind it, for a lack of a better term.
Yeah. And I had this discussion with my brother-in-law actually, because it's sport with my brother-in-law, so I'll call him out. It's a sport with him just to take the opposite view of whatever my view is.
Yeah.
Right? And it doesn't matter if mine is the most scientific view or the most kooky view.
Yeah.
He'll take the opposite.
Yeah.
And I was doing some stuff on energy healing, again, of which I'm certified to do, both as a Reiki master and as an energy healer.
Yeah.
And I was looking more into the meridians because I was finding the meridians with the tapping and the different things. I was finding that really interesting. So I had watched some things on it.
Yeah.
And I was seeing one where they were saying that if anyone who does anything that is completely one-sided with their movements can cause energy disturbances in the body, because cross-lateral body movement is great for your energy flows.
Yeah.
And obviously he poo-pooed it. It's and I go, oh, look, I get that it seems weird, but by the same token, if you once you accept the fact that there is energy meridians in our body, and if you are doing a repetitive thing that is moving something, because he's a runner, he runs so many marathons, it's ridiculous. And with all the training involved, that is very, very, does it not cross lateral in any way when you're doing that.
And that's not so cuckoo when you think about it, because there's a lot of physical exercises and postures and positions and places where you can touch on your body that act as a neural nervous reset. And they do a lot of that for people in therapy.
And I was saying to him, one of the things that I'd read up in relation to this, that for people who do that kind of thing, it's good to do cross body movement. So obviously we use our hands because they're supposed to be almost like an energy center magnet,
Yeah.
but you can use them to pull energy by using your hands. So I said, just try that in the morning. Just do cross body movement just while you're having your breakfast for 20 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute, however long you want to. Do again at night and see if it fixes up some of the things you had issues with.
Yeah.
And he honestly thought it was the most crazy thing in the world. And I said, well, why do you find that crazy? Like, literally, what's crazy about that?
Yeah.
And he said, oh, the whole thing, going across my body. And I go, you do. I said, right now, if I had a piece of metal and I had a magnet and I ran the magnet down that piece of metal and
Yeah.
I just ran it down there enough times, I've magnetized that other piece of metal.
Yeah.
By just moving it, it's pulled those things into an alignment and has created something that wasn't magnetized is now magnetized.
Yeah.
I didn't touch it. I didn't do anything. It was just by running it in a certain pattern. And if I had have gone up and down like this, nothing would have happened.
Yeah.
But by doing it that, I said, why is that so crazy to you that I can make a paper clip a magnet just by moving something magnetic next to it? Why is it crazy that I could wipe your hard drive by putting a magnet next to it, that
Yeah.
you are perfectly accepting of that, but you cannot accept conceptually that by shifting the energy in your body in a certain pattern could make have a
I
benefit?
think you just brought up a really good point because people like things.
That's a first.
Yeah, no, you bring up good points all the time. But people like things to be tangible. People like to be able to see things. And when they can't, and like, so they struggle with concept and theory, right? Um, so when we're talking about these alternative beliefs, there is that extreme in that to get people to sort of believe it more or to understand it more, you bring those concepts into the physical. And for us, like a crystal is like a good anchor point for that sort of train of thought. So for him to not be able to understand theoretically how that works, and some people are just hardwired like that. They're like, if I can't see it, if I can't touch it, it's fucking not, it's not there, it's not real. And they need to see a certain level of effect or result from those types of things.
Yes.
If they're not seeing it, then they're discounting it, which is a reasonable thought process to a point, because otherwise, some people like to live in ignorant bliss, right? So they, even if things are there, they're choosing not to see it. So I think that you bring a good point in that it needs to be like more tangible, hands-on, in front of their eyes for them to believe it, or at least have some starting point to understand, as opposed to just listening to the information and deciding whether they're going to take it on board or not. And I think that's a really good segue into like alternative religious beliefs and spiritualities too.
Yep.
Because there are so many trains of thought when it comes to religions and spiritualities that are mocked, particularly today when we have new age stuff. Like I get mocked all the time. So people will find out that, I've had people ask me, they're like, are you into Wicca or astrology and crystals and stuff? And I'm all like, yeah. So what? And they're all like, oh, so you actually believe that? I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, it helps me understand the world around me. It helps me connect the dots where I find it hard. I still have a discerning mind and I like to critically think. So some things I'm more like, yeah, I'm not that on board with it, but I accept other people believe that and I respect that and I leave that in their box. But there's the other end of that where it becomes extremist, and because people have been set to believe this one narrative, this one doctrine, and we're seeing it in the world today, ugly as ever. And they can't be open-minded enough to understand that throughout human history, we have all had common beliefs alternative beliefs which have turned mainstream, and that's where the imbalance is coming from, and that's where it starts with mocking, and then it turns
mocking and derision and all of those things.
Yeah.
And again, I think I've said this a million times. Certainty is the enemy here.
Yeah.
I truly do believe it.
Yeah.
Because, and I do not want to make light of religious differences, especially at this point in time in history.
Yeah.
In any way. But the only thing I will point out is that we seem to focus so much on the difference of religion and not on the similarities.
Yeah.
And if you remove some basic structural words from it, like if you basically said certain words didn't exist and you moved them off to the side, there's not so much difference between a lot of them. Even the trappings are very, very similar. And I put this forward to my husband at one point in time because he thinks I'm a loon. Like I literally just like, oh God, here she goes again.
She's at it again.
Yeah, we just happened to be in a Catholic service that we were attending. And I just said to him, I said, remove the iconology of the Catholic Church, remove it and put it aside for a moment and look at the ritual that's occurring.
Yeah.
That's the same kind of ritual that's occurring in so many different religions.
Yeah.
They all have the concept of doing better, having a moral structure that we have in place.
Yeah.
All of them, including witchcraft. It might not be a moral code that you adhere to, but it's a moral. But there's a code.
There's a code there.
There's a code.
Type of standpoint you adopt in your practice.
Exactly. They all have a code. And a moral code. They all have a concept of reward and a punishment to a certain degree, whether it be, nirvana, going to heaven, whatever you want to call it, or being punished for doing wrong or sending out or petitioning in the wrong manner. In an unreasonable manner. If you were to petition your deities in a non-respectful manner, you can expect backlash. So there's so many things that are similar. I find it really, I struggle with why people are so dismissive and derogatory and mock other religions so much. I don't see much difference between Holy Spirit, universal energies, all of these things. Take away the naming convention. I don't understand
the impressed traits as well. Like I feel like cultures and certain types of, philosophies and things from groups of people are definitely imprinted on their spiritual systems, and which is understandable. That's what makes them unique. We're all part of the world from different places, etc. There are various commonalities throughout the world, and indigenous or organizational or religious practices alike that we all share. There's various levels of existence that we believe occur within spiritual realms. We have specific people who are more in tune or tapped into that or trained to be tapped into that. I come across a term the other day that I really, really love in relating to what we now call spirit. Some people call that God, some people call that Allah, some people call that Odin, that all encompassing energy that's in and around us. And the animate everything was the term. And I really love that because it takes that sort of religious concept out of the existence of that there's this greater force surrounding us, within us, at all times, that is playing this massive role in how the universe transpires. And whether it gives a shit or not about what little old me thinks is irrelevant. It just is. And I think, even from a science perspective, it's not too crazy of an idea to believe that this planet came from fucking trillions of years of evolution and a universal big bang where something just decided to go boom in the night, and then a sun was born, and then, you know, little planetoids and like the whole shebang, you know, that's believable. But yet a universal force that could be behind it all isn't. So that's laughable. So that makes people who might believe in that mockable.
Yep. Yep.
You know, like that to me, science, evolution, all of that, that is a miracle. And I don't use that term in the concept of, you know, how it's usually used. Like it's fucking out there, right? That
Yep.
is crazy
Yep.
shit. So
Yep.
how could it be unimaginable that other people's beliefs and the beings in those beliefs and things are not existent on some other form of wavelength that we can't yet comprehend?
Yep. And we've talked about this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the whole concept of energy healing, as
Yeah.
well as just our energy, our spirituality, our energy self,
Yeah.
for one of the fancy terminology for it,
Yeah.
sort of like leads us to be accepting of, I can't really rule out much. There's not many things that I rule out and openly mock.
Yeah.
I see things that I love in virtually all religions.
Yeah.
I see things I love in most spirituality.
Yeah.
In all of them, I do not like this is the only view.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't like that in any of it.
Yeah.
And I don't care what word you put behind it. I don't like that because everything is constantly changing.
Yeah.
Medicine, science, I keep saying this, things
Yeah.
constantly change and
Yeah.
evolve. So to believe what you believe, perfectly fine.
Yeah.
To then use that concept that you believe to, because I believe this, all of this is wrong.
Yeah.
All of this is wrong, and because
And
it's wrong,
therefore that
it's
you believe that
mockable.
gives you a right to harm other people
Yeah.
and,
So
you know, mock and beyond.
yeah. Now, I'm going to be disingenuous if I come out here and say that I don't mock things.
Oh, same.
I
I'm
mock so many
constantly
things.
taking the piss out of.
Now, I'm going to go some of the things that where we're stretching things for me a little bit.
Yeah.
When we talk about with certainty, I'm going to get my notes on things like soul tie, twin flames, invisible string theory, and
Oh my
stuff like that.
God. Oh my
Now,
God.
I'm not saying I don't look. You call it a twin. We've had a term for twin flames. It's called soulmate. It's been
Yeah.
around. It's pretty similar.
Yeah.
But I was watching that documentary you put me onto
Oh
of
my
escaping
God.
twin flames,
Yes.
and to say that it was shocking, and I haven't even watched the third
See,
episode.
that's the best example of that extremist fucking viewpoint. And that, you know, we were talking about guru mentality in our toxic positivity episode, and it literally is the best friggin' modern day example that I can come up with right now of that, because it all the shit that was happening in it was just so
Crazy.
damaging. And they're based that it derived from this, you know, belief of twin flames and that they exist, and, you know, which is fine on its own, but then they took that and they warped it.
They warped it, and they used
their cult essentially,
and they used so many quasi science psychology theories in terms of, you know, the mirroring and, you know, loving yourself before you can love others, and all of those things that in their base, in their purest form, are not damaging at all, but the way they used them became very
they weaponized
it.
Yeah, and they committed atrocious fucking acts of abuse in doing that. And
in doing it,
you know, I was watching it, and I mean, for me, being sort of like understanding of what that is and what twin flames were, and, you know, having an understanding of what is a red flag and things like that. I was watching it, I'm like, how could you fall for that? You know, like, how? But then I'm like, but it was so they were relentless.
They were
doomed from the start. They were
relentless how they pursued them.
Yeah, they were preying on vulnerable people who were looking for answers, looking for community and comfort. they were using psychology tools and alternative spiritual beliefs to
and
manipulate.
they were using the beautiful parts
Yes.
of spiritual practice.
Yeah.
The concept that we are all worthy of love.
Yeah.
That to find people that are like-minded, to find people that will love us who we are, how we are, is beautiful.
Yeah. But then they turn that into, well, you need to make them do that for you. Like, it's you, it's your fault. Instead of going, oh, well, that person clearly is not your twin flame, move on,
Yeah.
more worth than that.
And empowering them. And this is the question I ask, right? In watching that particular show. And for anyone who hasn't watched it, it's on Netflix, and it basically tells us the story of a married couple that were said to be twin flames that created an organization around being able to facilitate people finding their true twin flame through their organization, obviously at a cost.
Yes.
With fees behind it, but with a huge amount of psycho manipulation going on.
Yeah.
And as atrocious behavior, as Tay was saying.
We see that in these, documentaries and things, and then that gives more credence for people to mock people who actually do
exactly. That's exactly right, because the damage they've done to all of it, because wanting to be loved is a basic human desire.
Yeah.
Right. I can make fun of everything, but that we all want to be loved and accepted.
Yeah.
And they used a lot of terminology around being your authentic self. Well, I think that's something we should all aspire to.
Yeah.
Like, I really do think we're reaching a point where people have to rip off their masks and stop having the face on that they think everybody wants to see.
Absolutely.
And start showing people who they really are.
Yeah.
Really positive things that you want to promote. But fuck me, did they destroy these people?
They did.
But did they believe? This is the thing. I have, in my exposure to spiritual circles and or spiritual circles is the wrong word, different business models that I'm seeing out there that use spirituality and holistic and alternative things, whether you're walking into a crystal store or whether you're walking to somewhere that sells tarot and oracle decks and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You almost always have a person there that is the expert.
Yeah.
And that expert puts forward a view, which is oftentimes very strong.
Yeah.
A very strong view. These people in this documentary believed that they could recognize someone's twin flame and would be better say, that's your twin flame. Do whatever you need to do to go out and get it.
Yeah.
I've had similar things from people in alternative circles talk to me with such certainty.
Yes.
With only having met me for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
5 freaking minutes. Now, this is the thing I have a problem with. If your guides and spirits are talking to you so strongly that you can have a view on me in 5 minutes, why do you need me to sit down for $120 for a consultation to get more?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm all about it. I believe you can get a lot from oracle decks, tarot cards, and all that. I think you can get a lot.
And this is not slamming on people who make money in
not
this
at
area,
all,
because we both do.
We both do it. We both.
But it is contributing to a wider issue in that people are going, well, you shouldn't be charging for that because of XYZ, because they're coming across these people who are just trying to milk them for all their worth to these insights that they're getting.
Absolutely. And I'm just like, I don't think they're helping the cause of going back to, I say half mockingly, of raising our vibrational level, but in opening our spirituality, of becoming more spiritual beings, these statements that just get thrown at you, and they just get thrown at you that if you just X, I know what's wrong with you.
Yeah, it's right up there with toxic positivity and unsolicited advice. Like, if I want a reading, I will go to you. I will stick that out. Probably more, I will ask someone who I'm close with, or I'll do it for myself.
Yeah.
I don't need you to tell me that I need a reading from you. If spirit, the animate everything, leads me to your table, so be it. Even if you say things I don't resonate with, I have a right to that opinion. You should
Yeah.
not, in any instance, be trying to push your belief on me because I am not you.
Yeah.
What works for you, what works is what works for you. What works for me is what works for me. We can have a respectful conversation about those two beliefs,
Yeah.
see what we share, and leave our differences where they lie. I
Yeah.
don't, you don't need to have a winner in this debate.
No. And I think that comes down to two with, again, we know my bugbear is certainty.
Yes.
And when we talk about, oh, my daughter brought up that one that I was talking about, that invisible string theory, which is that you've got a connection between different people and the string will slowly pull you together and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I have no issue with that. You know,
Yeah.
you meet people, some people, you can go around the other side of the world and you'll bump into someone that lives a street away from you.
Yeah.
Um, sometimes it's just called a coincidence, though.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just it's just a quinky dink.
Not everything's woo woo.
Not everything's woo woo, and I think that conceptually, personally, one of my and I'm going to go out and say I hate this. I hate this so hard.
Yeah.
When I'm on TikTok or wherever stupid place I'm on,
Yeah.
and I'm get the if you're seeing this,
Oh,
this message is for you.
this is a sign for
Anyone,
you.
anyone who's watching this podcast, this message is for you.
This is a message.
Bullshit. It's not for you.
That's
I'm
clickbait.
sorry.
That's
There might
clickbait.
be still words of wisdom in there.
Yeah.
The words of wisdom that will resonate with you
Yeah.
at that point in time and be so helpful. It's unbelievable.
Sometimes that's Google Analytics.
Yeah. Sometimes it is. So I'm like, that doesn't help.
Hmm.
That kind of, and that's so much out there.
Yeah.
It's so much out there.
Yeah.
I've got my deck of cards and I do a reading every week.
Yep.
And I put a thing out there to give people a thought process
Yeah.
to think about it. But which is what my cards are about anyway.
Yeah.
It's about a thought process to let you have some introspection and give you something to think about for that day or for that whatever. What I'm not saying when I put up those posts is, you see this post?
It's for you.
It would be
thinking of you.
if you were sitting in front of me and I was doing a reading for you and we were focused and we were connecting and we were energetically connecting 100%. Do I believe you can connect across the internet? Probably.
Yeah.
Probably I can. Do I think the algorithm is helping with that? No.
No.
Nope.
I will admit there was an instance yesterday where that did happen to me. I was thinking about something in my head and then I opened Instagram and the first thing I saw, like the very first post was like confirmation of that thought. And I'm like, but it didn't say like, and it did say like, if you're seeing this, then take this as your sign. And I was like, okay, that's kind of weird that popped up when I was thinking about that. But it wasn't like God.
And here's the thing. The universe will give you signs the way the universe gives you signs.
Yeah.
That's fine. It came to you in that moment. And I don't believe that necessarily that's perfectly acceptable.
Yeah.
But the person who created that way back when, they weren't part of that, sending that message to you at that time. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, it wasn't a conscious decision for them to make.
And that's where I'm drawing the line.
Yeah.
That's where I'm drawing the line. When someone says to me, oh, this is the card I pulled, and talking to me like a personal thing, when it's going out to millions of people.
Yeah.
It's the algorithm deciding whether I see it or not. Yeah. Do I believe the universe could work through an algorithm? Why not?
Why not? It's not impossible.
Work through whatever it want to work through. Really, literally.
I mean, if it can show me like six birds in a tree that, are an omen for something that I
Yep,
understand. Why not through a technological device?
no problem. What I don't want is the certainty.
Yeah,
Remove the certainty from it.
yeah,
If they came across and said, you might find something in this message that is helpful to you, I'd be like, I'm there for that.
yeah,
A good chance that I am going to find something useful in what you're saying to me.
yeah,
Good chance.
yeah.
But the rest, so I mock that because it fucking pisses me off so hard.
I see your belief, sir, and I mock it.
Mock, mock.
She says, as she preps the tobacco pipe for the resuscitation procedure.
Well,
We've
yeah,
come full circle. We've gone back
full circle.
Victorian era.
I almost mentioned when you're talking about train of thought. One of the other things that came up when I was doing my research, that when trains first started to travel at a certain speed, and I think it was only like 26 miles per hour,
Yeah.
the scientists were saying it's going to create psychosis. The human brain won't be able to take that level of G-force, that level of speed on its brain. Seriously, and there was whole newspaper articles warning people not to go on trains because of the psychosis that would be created because of the speed. I almost said that when you're talking about train of thought, but I've got one other thing. It has got nothing to do with any of this, but made me freaking laugh.
Yeah.
I was looking up different things, alternative beliefs, and there was one that came back, and obviously it was from ancient Roman times because obviously they had a god for everything back then.
Yes.
There was literally a god for everything. And this, we didn't get a chance to talk about this. I think we're going to have to do one on religions because because it really destroys my brain when people have issue with what is it called, polytheism, I don't understand.
Monotheist, polytheist is where poly
I don't know.
like multiple gods and mono being one.
Yeah, I don't understand. I'm one person, but I have so many different aspects to my personality.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm one person, but I have aspects. I'm the daughter, I'm the mother,
Yeah,
I'm the wife,
yeah,
I'm the friend. But I'm also things that are just for me. I'm a pain in the ass. I'm a nag. I'm lots of things. I've got so many aspects to me. To think that rules out the belief system that one has to be one. That if you have multi,
yeah,
not just be aspects of a personality that we're talking about here. Like we're talking about some supreme something.
yeah,
To even think that we could understand it, that we could even be able to capture even a 15th of it in our brain,
yeah,
but we can mock and have all of this derision around, oh, that's not what the supreme being is.
yeah,
You don't even know who the person sitting next to you is, not really.
yeah,
And you may have lived with them all of your life, and there's aspects of their being that you might never see
yeah,
because you're not in that environment to see it.
yeah. And you're not them.
Yeah. So
Anyway,
side tangent, but
going
we're gonna
back
have
to
to
Rome.
we're gonna have to go into that. But the one thing that fascinated me, you'll realize why that's funny in a minute,
Yeah.
is there was a Roman god, and his name was Fascinus.
Yes.
What I find really funny about this is not only that we use the word fascinate has come from this, is when I describe what he looks like. Fascinus is a giant penis
What?
with a nice big set of balls on him.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's got 4 penis legs and he can fly. Right?
So there was a
You know what they say when pigs fly? I reckon when pigs fly came from when dicks fly.
when dicks fly, and it's a wandering penis.
So
Maybe old bud multimillionaire putting that as electrodes on his willy is just trying to cure his own like male version of hysteria.
His little Fascinus.
His little Fascinus. His wandering willy. There you go. Treatments for wandering willies are the key to immortality.
I just think it's funny. I just think it's funny because this little god was supposed to just fly around and visited women's vaginas. Visited it.
Yeah.
And then women, then virgins would get pregnant.
Yeah.
People in Rome at that time actually went around with penis necklaces, which is funny.
Excellent.
But what made me laugh about this in terms of being an alternate belief, because it just seems to me that's hilarious. Like literally having a god that is just a winged penis to me is too funny. But then I thought about it and I thought, who hasn't drawn a penis at one point in time when you're doodling? I want to know in the comments how many people have doodled, and when they've doodled a doodle.
So
Maybe that's where it's come from.
But a little bit of trivia there. I was the queen of drawing dicks in high school. Like, and I'm not just talking cute little like lilies with little heart-shaped nutsacks. I'm talking veins. I'm talking anatomical foreskins, little bits of bush like coming off. And they, as I got older, they just got better. And you know, when I met my husband, he's all like, "What the fuck's up with all the dicks in your university books?" And I'm like, just really good medium to draw, you know.
I'm saying but it's a deity.
Apparently I was practicing witchcraft before I even knew it was witchcraft. So praise Fascinus. Choo choo. Oh, I think we need to end this here before it gets well too ridiculous and we're going to be mocking ourselves because we're a pair of wankers.
Oh, it's not wrong.
Oh my goodness.
It's not wrong.
It's no.
Gee whiz.
So,
all right. What are we talking about next week?
What else?
I know what it is. I just looked it up. We're talking about the elements and their representatives.
Yes.
Now, this is going to be more interesting than people think.
I reckon.
I think this is going to be way more interesting. And obviously the elements we're talking about, earth, wind, fire, water, and all of the little representatives and how they work. And we get into fae folk and we get into lots of things and a lot beyond just the fae, because many cultures have their own version of these little things. So
absolutely.
But that'll be a little bit more sensible.
Hopefully, unless you're one of these people that uses Fascinus to represent the air element because he has wings. I'm not poo-pooing that.
You're not mocking it, Tay?
I'm not. I'm here for it. I am here for it. In fact, I'm probably gonna put one on my altar. Just praise Fascinus. Until then, remember,
praise be.
Let's not get into praise be. Curiosity may kill a few cats because they had some wanky alternative beliefs and took it to the extreme. Like, hey, don't put essential oils in the cat water for their fleas. But there is no growth in ignorant bliss. None.
All I've got is an image with a cat with electrodes tied where it doesn't want them.
It's just dabbing its lavender oil to put on there for its electrodes, and then it's like rose quartz crystal to I don't know.
Gee, but it's true.
Meditate with.
No growth.
Ignorant cat. Until next time, people. Bye.
Bye.